What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Grind City Hoops. I'm your host, Donovan McLemore, and today we got a very special guest on the podcast. Coach, just go ahead and introduce yourself to the people at home.
I'm Coach Josh Cooperwood.
Perfect. Appreciate you, Coach, coming on. Coach, just going back, everybody has like an origin story when it comes to basketball. So, just how did you get into the game when you was younger?
I guess at a young age, born in Memphis, parents split up, moved to Nashville. That's where all my mom's family is from. So just my grandparents, man. When we first moved to Nashville, we stayed with my grandparents for about a year till my mom bought her house. And my grandparents lived on Torbert Street, which is right behind a restaurant called Sweats. It's a famous soul food spot, but it's a park right behind Sweats called the Little Park. And my grandparents lived on that street. So at a young age, man, I would walk to the park, and kind of, see all the guys hooping at the little park and kind of just get my start on the playground.
For sure, for sure. Growing up, was there other sports or just basketball?
Man, actually, I played everything, all year round. So I played football during football season. Then went into basketball and then baseball. I would say at an early age, probably all the way up until maybe eighth grade, baseball was probably my best sport
Hmm.
uh, between football, basketball, and baseball. I was much better in baseball as a youth than I was basketball.
For sure. So, at what point did it become the focus became just basketball and the other sports kind of faded away?
I'd probably say my freshman year in high school. Went to Hillwood High School. Um, uh, in my freshman year, Charles Hathaway was a senior at Hillwood. He was a McDonald's All-American. Ended up going playing at Tennessee, but he was a McDonald's All-American game in 1996. Same McDonald's class as obviously Kobe Bryant, Tim Thomas, Rip Hamilton. So I remember as a freshman, we went and played Patterson, which that's where Tim Thomas played. It was, Charles Hathaway versus Tim Thomas. They went and played that game in Raleigh, North Carolina. And as a freshman, I was on the varsity team. I didn't get to play much as a freshman, but just being in the mix, practicing against, Hathaway, guy named BJ, um, Danielle and Derry James, Rodney Lawson, like just being in the mix with a lot of guys that went on to play at the next level kind of shifted my focus that I want to, I could really take the game serious.
Sure, for sure. So, how did you stay? Obviously, you say your freshman year, you didn't really play a lot because of the team you were on. How did you stay mentally locked in, even though you weren't getting minutes on the floor?
Oh, so I played freshman. You know what I'm saying? I played freshman ball too. So in Tennessee, you could play freshman and varsity.
Hmm.
So I played, freshman basketball. And then when freshman season was over with, played JV. I would dress out for the varsity. So that's kind of how I stayed engaged. And like, unlike the kids now, like we would practice right after school. Practice, we got out of school 2 o'clock. We might practice from 2 to 4:30. I lived in North Nashville. When I got home, I was either going to Hadley Park Community Center or Luby Center until 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. So like, and this was Monday through Friday, like high school practice. And then as soon as practice was over with, I'm going to the community center.
Oh yeah, for sure. And speaking on that, actually, how much is the game as far as not necessarily training, but as much as basketball players play? How much has that changed since you were playing up until now?
I mean, if I'm being honest, now that I've been able to, be involved with basketball essentially my whole life, I think now, I think the players one on one are more skilled
Hmm.
because all they do is train, individual train. I can walk in a gym now and there might be 15 guys in there and they're all doing cone drills.
Hmm.
Where skillfully, I think they're better skill players, but they didn't know how to like play the game. And I think like playing in the playground, playing in the parks, playing in the center, like we played 5-on-5, 3-on-3. So just understanding like how to play the game. I think when I came up, I think we had more IQ. We were better team players, better 5-on-5 players than the generation today.
For sure. So basically, the training, since it's so individualistic, but it's a team game, it's hard for them to translate sometimes.
Correct. And I think some of the, you have a lot of trainers now and they're putting kids to all these drills and they'll never do that in the game. Like that's a big pet peeve of mine.
For sure. So like basically, most trainers actually, I'm glad you spoke on that because I see that a lot too, where you'll see someone doing a drill where you're like, this is never going to be utilized in the game.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not it doesn't correlate, it doesn't translate. And I've be like even personally just being, college coach and working with the guards. I used to like to do a lot of two ball stuff.
mhm.
And as I, just dive deeper, like how many times in the game are you really gonna dribble two balls? Is that really? And I'm just giving an example. Like, it's a drill that we like to do sometimes for hand-eye coordination, other things, but like how realistic is that you're gonna be in the game with two balls, ducking and dodging through traffic? Like that's just not realistic.
Yeah, for sure.
It
For sure.
looks good though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It
it
looks
do look good.
good.
It look good on the mixtape, but
Yeah,
it don't translate to the game though.
not at all.
For sure, for sure. So just going back to your journey, so later up in high school was playing college ball, was that a thing? Did you go play college ball? If you did, where'd you play? And if not, why?
Yeah, so I played at Chattanooga State Junior College. Played there for one season. Had a really good run there at Chattanooga State. Was Player of the Year, Tennessee Junior College Player of the Year. And from junior college, I went to Tennessee State and had a pretty successful playing career at Tennessee State. From
Awesome.
Tennessee State, I was fortunate enough, had good stats and had some good tape that I was able to land a job over in Europe. And so I played overseas for 8 seasons.
Awesome. Awesome. Where'd you play at?
I started off in Israel. I played there for 3 seasons, left Israel, went to Croatia, and finished up my latter part of my career in the Middle East.
Awesome. Going back to your recruitment, the recruitment now is totally different with the internet, but back in the day, but pre-internet, how was recruitment? How did that look?
So I played AAU basketball. Back then, I'm in Nashville. We may have had two teams, maybe. Music City Players. That's who I played for. Coach Maurice Fitzgerald. He was a legendary football coach. Won state championships at Pearl High School. But he had an AAU program, and so I mean, a lot of the guys in the Middle Tennessee area, if they were anybody, they played for this organization. Marcus Maven played at Louisville. Trent Hassel played in the league. James Stewart, Ron Slay. I mean, you name it, the list goes on and on. And so just playing AAU, playing for Coach Fitzgerald from ninth grade on up, was able to travel the country and play in front of college coaches.
Awesome. Awesome. So has AAU basketball changed since then until now?
I think so because back then it was more like you played actual AAU. Like we would play, in the mid-state AAU, and then from there we would have to qualify for the state.
Hmm.
It was always Music City Players versus the Memphis Y.
Hmm.
Like, we would always meet up, in the state tournament and battle out, you know, those teams. And then from the state, you would qualify for nationals.
Uh,
And so now you have so many. It wasn't the EYBL circuit, Under Armour circuit,
right.
Adidas circuit. It was actually AAU, Amateur Athletic Union. So it has, totally shifted from then until now.
Do you think the modern AAU is hurting basketball or helping it? Or you kind of indifferent?
I mean, I think it's good. Like I think I'm all for kids getting exposure, the maximum exposure they can. I think it's really good that the shoe companies are investing back into the youth, into inner city guys, because when shoes come out, who's buying them. We are.
Yep,
Like when Jordans come out, we're buying them.
for
When
sure.
LeBrons come out, we're buying them. So now they have the EYBL. They're using that platform. Essentially, I look at it, as giving back, and then guys are able to capitalize, off of their play and their performance. So I'm all for that aspect of the game.
No doubt, no doubt. So going back to you, when did you start coaching? Was it after overseas or did you go somewhere else after overseas?
Yeah, it was after overseas, my mom, when I left Tennessee State, I still had about uh half a semester, half a semester to a year to get my degree.
Okay.
And so when I finished playing, I changed my major. And so when anytime you change your major, your credits don't transfer. And I was already a transfer student. So when I finished playing, I took a year to just kind of figure out what I wanted to do. So I was able to go back to Tennessee State where I played at, and I was a student assistant for the men's team while finishing up my degree. And so that year that I was on the men's staff, had a really good team. Robert Covington, who just finished playing. He was with the Clippers last year, but he's had an amazing NBA career. Had Patrick Miller, who's still playing in Europe. He was a Kellen Thornton, a big 6'11" kid named Michael Green. MJ Rett left Tennessee State and transferred to Ole Miss. He's still playing in Europe. And so being around those guys, I played with them every summer, like when I was come home overseas, and then switching, going from playing to coaching. It was a really easy transition for me because I saw all of those guys. I basically, kick their butts for 3 and 4 years when they first come into the city. They were freshmen, playing pickup in the summertime, playing in the pro am with those guys. And it just kind of gave me an edge. Like, man, I really I enjoyed breaking down film and, doing all of those little things. Back then, we had actual film exchange. It
Mhm.
wasn't like where you could just go on the computer and you got everything at your fingertips. We actually had to send our games out to our opponents. We had to receive it. So it
Oh,
was
wow.
totally different. Yeah, yeah. We had to actually if we were playing Middle Tennessee,
Mhm.
we couldn't just go on Synergy and pull everything up. We had to look and see, who they're gonna play, who did they play before. So we had to call that school. They would send us the tapes,
Man.
in the mail. Sometimes you might have to drive, being like a student assistant or a gopher. I might have to drive and meet one of their managers, halfway if it was, if push came to shove. So
Wow.
it was just a really good experience, and that kind of said, man, I think I could do this. And going from there, I attained my degree during that time, and just so happened a spot on the women's staff open. And I'm a people person, so I always had dialogue with the women's staff, just working the guys out. In the gym, I was always communicating and talking to the women's coaches. And we were kind of like a big family at Tennessee State. And when they had a position open, one thing, led to another. And, I told them, okay, I'll try for 1 year, because I didn't really know anything about girls basketball.
Right.
I wasn't really into it. And 15 years later, I'm still coaching on the women's side, and I wouldn't look back.
Most definitely. Most definitely. So going from that experience, it's actually funny you said it was an easy transition from playing to coaching because you're the first coach I talked to that said that. Most of them was like it was a difficult transition because playing is way different because you're expecting people to play like you did. But you're the first person to say it was an easy transition. But going into your experience, how have you grown since you first started until now as a coach?
Um, I think communication. I understand. I know how I was as a player. I was a I was a really good player. High school, I was a good player. College, all league caliber player. And I think my game really took off maybe my senior year in college to my first 3 or 4 years playing in Europe. I think my game really, really went to a whole nother level as far as understanding the game, my peak. Uh, And so it was just, I was always kind of a student of the game and understanding. So for me, it was easy from that aspect. And so now just understanding how I wanted my coaches to communicate with me. So I consider myself a player's coach, not somebody that can you can just run over me,
Hmm.
but I respect the player. I give them respect, and in return, I want the same kind of respect. I'm not a in your face kind of coach. I allow kids to play through mistakes, communicate with them. Hey, tell me what you saw there. Because one thing that if you played and you took chances, took difficult shots. I took a lot of difficult shots.
Yeah. Yeah.
My college coach, Lord rest his soul, Nolan Richardson III, he was the son of the legendary Arkansas coach. But notes, man, he used to get on me all the time about shot selection. But in my mind, hey, I ain't gonna make the shot if I don't take it.
Right.
So that was my motto. So now I understand like really good players you got to live and die by them making tough decisions, whether it's trying to thread the needle on a pass,
Hmm.
whether it's taking a difficult shot. So I kind of understand that, being that I was that kind of player. So I'm not hard on kids for making difficult plays as long as I know they work on those plays. And if I never see you taking that step back, you come down and shoot a 30-foot step back, now we might have a problem. But if I know you constantly work on that, you working on your up and under, your step back, your hezzies. Like if I know you get in the lab and work on those things, when the lights are on, I'm okay with you, trying to go out and make plays.
Right. You already got them shots up before.
You already got those shots up, so you got a higher chance of making those shots than you do of missing them because you worked on those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So actually on that topic, what is something from the outside looking in, a lot of people may not all they see is the game when the cameras are on. But behind the scenes, whether that's workouts, training sessions, lifting weights, film sessions that you spoke on, or just practice in general, how much sacrifice and what does it take really to be a college basketball player in today's time?
I'll go back, and when I talk about just being a college coach, and you talk about pros, I'll go back to Tennessee State, my first year being on the coaching side, and I saw guys like Robert Covington, all right, Pat Miller, MJ Redd. Those guys were always in the gym. I mean, you name it, homecoming week. And we're talking about Tennessee State, Nashville, HBCU. You got party from really Wednesday night to Sunday. You could be doing something other than what you should be doing. And
Hmm.
I really saw Rob Covington, Pat Miller, and MJ Redd. I saw those three guys like work at a different level. And even being around some young ladies that I've coached, most recently, Dee Dee Hageman at Memphis, Tilly Bowler. I mean, Kai Carter last year, Maddie Griggs. I mean, people that want to be pros, they put in the work. And even if you're not going to be a pro, but to be a really, really good college player, just coming to practice isn't enough.
Right.
Like you really, 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 really have to work. And but it doesn't also translate just basketball, but that's in the business world. Like whatever it is that you're passionate about, you have to put in the work.
Hmm.
Like there's only like one or two guys like a Allen Iverson who they say was just naturally gifted
Right.
and didn't have to practice that much. It's just one of them.
Yeah. One.
Everybody else, like I mean, you hear of Mike Jordan and Kobe and all of those, LeBron, like you got to do the work. The work is the work. And so to be really good, to be a good college player, you've got to sacrifice and put in the work. You can't half step.
Yeah, definitely you can't half step. Have you ran into a situation where a player didn't necessarily want to put in work outside of practice, but wanted either more minutes on the court or were unhappy with their role on a team that you were coaching?
Yeah, I mean, you see that, and I'll say in men's basketball, you see that more
Hmm.
than you do in women's basketball. You can take a men's college team, Division I team, and 1 through 12, 1 through 13, they all think they're going pro, whether that's NBA, Europe,
Hmm.
Canadian League, wherever it is, they all think they're going pro.
For sure.
So, you see it where guys, they're like, dude, like, you're not that good, but they still think they kind of have a chance.
Right.
Whereas on the female side, I think females are more keen of what's going on.
Hmm.
Hey, I'm on scholarship. I'm a really good rebounder. I'm a really good screen setter. And I'm also getting a free education.
Right.
So I'm gonna, really, really focus on my academia, but then I'm gonna come in and also do what's required of me. I might not do more, but I'm gonna do just enough that's required. But I'm also here and in 4 years or 3.5 years, I'm gonna walk across that stage. I'm gonna be an engineer, and I'm gonna go on with my life. So I don't run into it as much on the women's side. Not saying that I haven't.
Hmm.
You always have extreme circumstances, but I haven't experienced that too much as a coach.
For sure. Um, do you see yourself ever coaching on the men's side, or would you rather stick on the women's side?
Well, people ask me that all the time, and I think now going into this will be my 15th season. I think now, as far as recruiting is key. And
Mhm.
so I've developed so many relationships on the women's side as far as recruiting ties. And I've now, recently made connections on the West Coast. So now I can
Mhm.
recruit really good in the South. I'm now in the Northeast. I've got ties, New York, the DMV area,
Mhm.
Arizona, Cali. So I think I'm pretty much uh, comfortable and good where I am on the women's side.
Most definitely, most definitely. And speaking on that, actually, I know you got a new job, so just go ahead and let the people know about your new opportunity.
Yeah, I'm now at Loyola Maryland University in Baltimore, Maryland, in the Patriot League, working for Coach Danielle O'Bannon, who's a former assistant at Memphis as well. She was an assistant coach for Coach Melissa McFerrin, and she presented me with the opportunity to join her staff here. So I'm here and, been here about 2 or 3 weeks and getting ready to head out on the road in a couple of days, go recruiting. So just looking for the opportunity to coach these young ladies here. And we have a really good team. They were picked first in the Patriot League last year, and then they had some injuries early in the season. So got all of those players back. Have a really good team. If Marn, staying away from injuries, everybody work hard, do what they need to do. I think we could have a pretty good, successful season.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to definitely check out a game. I'm from Maryland, actually. I just got back home on Thursday.
Man, I love this area. I
Yeah,
love
it's
this
awesome.
area. Man, it's I've been here, before just recruiting, playing a game, but I've never just day-to-day life. And I love this area.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's definitely awesome. It's a lot to do now,
Right.
for sure. But congratulations on your new opportunity, and I appreciate you coming on the show. Definitely gonna have to do this again at some point. I'm definitely gonna check out a game too,
Okay.
for sure. Man, I appreciate you coming on. And you have a good one,
All right, man. Keep up the good work, man. You a rising star in this business, man.
for sure. Definitely, I will,
All right, later.
for sure. You too.